A mysterious killer who taunted the police. A series of cryptic letters, chilling murders, and a case that still haunts investigators today. Who was the Zodiac Killer? And why was he never caught? Let's dive into one of the most terrifying unsolved crimes in American history, e.b. The beginning of terror. The year was 1968, and the location was Northern California. A quiet place where nothing like this had happened before. It all started with what seemed like a random act of violence. On the night of December 20th, 1968, a young couple, Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday, were parked along Lake Herman Road. They had no idea that their night would end in terror. As they sat in their car, an unknown assailant approached. In a calculated and cold-blooded manner, he shot them multiple times before vanishing into the darkness. At first, police struggled to find a motive. No robbery, no clear suspect. Just two teenagers mercilessly murdered. But 6 months later, another chilling attack would confirm that this was only the beginning. On July 4th, 1969, another couple, Darlene Farron and Michael Majot, were sitting in a parked car at Blue Rock Springs Park when a man approached with a flashlight and opened fire. Darlene was killed, but Michael miraculously survived. Despite his injuries, he was able to give police a vague description: a heavy-set man in dark clothing. Then, something shocking happened. The killer writes to the press. Less than a month after the attack, on August 1st, 1969, three major newspapers, the San Francisco Chronicle, San Francisco Examiner, and Vallejo Times-Herald, each received letters from someone claiming responsibility for the murders. The letters weren't just confessions. They were riddled with cryptic symbols, including a cipher that he demanded be published. If the newspapers refused, he threatened to go on a killing spree. Investigators and amateur cryptographers worked tirelessly to decode the message, and when they finally did, the message sent chills down their spines. I like killing people because it is so much fun. This was no ordinary killer. This was a man who wanted attention, control, and fear. He taunted law enforcement, claiming they would never catch him. And for decades, he was right. More murders. More messages. As months passed, the Zodiac's killing spree continued, and his attacks became even more theatrical. On September 27, 1969, a young couple, Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard, were enjoying a peaceful afternoon at Lake Berryessa when a masked man in an executioner's hood approached them. He was dressed in black robes with a strange crosshair symbol on his chest, the same symbol he'd used in his letters. Unlike his previous attacks, this time the Zodiac did not use a gun. Instead, he tied up his victims and stabbed them repeatedly before casually walking away. As if to prove his identity, he took out a marker and scrawled a message on their car door, listing the dates of his previous murders, along with the words, "by knife." Just 2 weeks later, the Zodiac struck again, this time in San Francisco. On the night of October 11th, 1969, Paul Stein, a taxi driver, picked up a passenger in the city. Moments later, the passenger pulled out a gun and shot Stein in the head. What made this attack even more shocking was that the Zodiac was almost caught. Witnesses saw him leaving the scene. A police officer even stopped him for questioning, but, due to a radio miscommunication, let him go. Once again, the Zodiac had slipped through the cracks. Theories, suspects, and missed chances. For years, the Zodiac continued sending letters, cryptic messages, and even mailed a piece of Paul Stein's bloody shirt to prove that he was behind the killing. But despite all the clues, the case never led to an arrest. One of the strongest suspects was Arthur Lee Allen, a man with a disturbing past. He was a convicted child molester, had an interest in cryptography, and was known to have talked about killing people for fun. Even one of his friends claimed that Allen had once admitted to being the Zodiac. But when police investigated him, they found no physical evidence linking him to the crimes. No fingerprints, no matching handwriting, no DNA. As a result, he was never charged. Other theories suggested that the Zodiac was a police officer or a military-trained individual, which would explain how he evaded capture so easily. Some believe he faked his death or moved to another state, continuing his killing spree under a different alias. To this day, no suspect has been officially identified as the Zodiac Killer. Why was he never caught? In today's world of DNA technology and surveillance, it's hard to imagine how a killer like the Zodiac could evade capture. But, in the 1960s and 70s, law enforcement was limited in what they could do. Why the Zodiac was never caught? He left very few clues. No clear fingerprints, no solid DNA evidence. He constantly changed his methods, making it hard to establish a pattern. He taunted police but never revealed too much, keeping his identity hidden. Some believe he simply stopped killing, or he continued under a new identity. In 2021, forensic teams analyzed a partial DNA profile from one of the Zodiac letters, but the results were inconclusive. With advancements in AI and forensic genealogy, many wonder, could we finally be on the verge of solving the case? The big question: who was the Zodiac Killer? Even after 5 decades, the Zodiac Killer remains one of the greatest mysteries in true crime history. His cryptic letters, his chilling murders, and his ability to disappear without a trace have made him a legend in criminal history. But the question remains: was he ever caught and never revealed to the public? Did he die without ever facing justice? Or is he still out there, watching from the shadows? We may never know the answer. What do you think? Was the Zodiac ever caught but kept a secret? Drop your theories in the comments below. If you love crime mysteries, hit that like button and subscribe for more.